Hello, can Hello and welcome to all the viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Midday News on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Ubong Osoro. A quick reminder, Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. President Bola Tinubu has says sustained military operations against terrorists and criminal networks are producing measurable security gains across Nigeria. Speaking at the 2026 Armed Forces Celebrations and Remembrance Day event in Abuja, the president, who was represented by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, commended improved coordination among security agencies and stronger regional and international partnerships, noting that many communities previously under threats are now experiencing relative calm. He reaffirmed security as a top priority of his administration, pledging continued investment in equipment, training, and welfare, while also honoring fallen heroes who had sacrificed for the country. The Trade Union Congress, TUC, has thrown its weight behind the ongoing strike by the joint health sector unions, JOHESU, and rejected the federal government enforcement of the no work, no pay policy. In a statement jointly signed by its president Festus Osifo and Secretary General Nuhu Turu, TUC described the stoppage of salaries as unacceptable, accusing the government of undermining ongoing negotiations and worsening the hardship faced by health workers amid rising economic pressures. The Congress warned that continued intimidation of JOHESU members could trigger a nationwide industrial action. The federal government and Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has formally signed a landmark agreement aimed at transforming and reforming the nation's university system and ending a 16-year industrial impasse. The agreement includes a significant increase in academic salaries and improved welfare for lecturers. Education correspondent Priscilla Obasi now reports.
At a formal ceremony in Abuja, the federal government and ASU put pen to paper on a new agreement to replace the renegotiated 2009 pact more than 16 years after its last signing. The agreement, which takes effect January 1, 2026, includes a 40% upward review of salaries for academic staff in federal universities following approval by the National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission. This rise applies across academic ranks and is meant to boost morale and stem the brain drain that has affected the sector. Minister of Education Maruf Olatunji Alausa described the signed pact as a decisive turning point in public university governance and staff welfare.
Today's agreement is a clear and deliberate with unprecedented demonstration of the commitment of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, to quality, accessible, and uninterrupted academic calendars.
Among the key provisions, the agreement also introduces enhanced pension terms where professors retiring at age 70 will receive pensions equivalent to their annual salaries, as well as the establishment of a National Research Council funded at none less than 1% of Nigeria's GDP to support research and innovation across universities. Speaking on behalf of the academic community, ASU President Chris Piwuna said the union expects the government to implement the terms fully ending the cycle of prolonged strikes that have disrupted academic calendars. The pact also provides for improved funding models that prioritizes research, laboratories, libraries, and staff development.
This agreement focuses on conditions of service, funding, university autonomy, academic freedom, and other systemic reforms that will reverse the decay, curb the brain drain, and reposition our universities.
Major stakeholders at the event included vice-chancellors and registrars of federal universities, representatives of TED Fund, leadership of ASU, members of the University Education Department of the Federal Ministry of Education, and officials from the National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission, highlighting broad institutional support for the agreement. The pact is expected to be reviewed after 3 years and represents a significant shift from years of stalled negotiations as both sides seek to build lasting industrial harmony and strengthen Nigeria's higher education sector. Priscilla Obasi, reporting for Global Television News.
The impeachment process against Rivers State Governor Similaye Fubara has suffered another setback as 2 additional lawmakers withdrew their support for the move. The legislature cited appeals from political leaders and stakeholders calling instead for dialogue and a peaceful resolution of the crisis. With 4 lawmakers now distancing themselves from the process, pressure is mounting on the Assembly leadership as division deepens ahead of the next plenary session. Former Kano State Governor and NNPP leader Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso says he will only consider joining the APC if clear guarantees are provided for Kano State government and the welfare of his political supporters. He stressed the need to protect the political structure built under the NNPP and the Kwankwasia movement, including elected officials and grassroots loyalists. The statement comes amid growing speculations over possible realignment ahead of future political contests. Renowned global politician and security analyst Professor Ibrahim Abubakar has faulted Nigeria's political and anti-corruption systems, describing them as structurally weak and fundamentally compromised. Speaking on Big Talk, a political program on global television, Professor Ibrahim stated that Nigeria does not operate political parties, but rather political platforms created mainly for electoral access and personal gains. Our correspondent reports.
According to Professor Ibrahim, leadership failure in Nigeria is rooted in the absence of ideology-driven political parties, arguing that politics in the country is largely treated as an investment venture rather than a platform for public service. He further alleged that over $1 trillion has been lost to corruption since 1999. Funds, he said, could have been used to build roads, hospitals, and other critical infrastructure across the country.
There is no political party in Nigeria. We have political platforms.
No political party?
No, there's no political party in Nigeria.
The PDP, APC, Labour Party are not
political platforms.
What's the difference?
Until the day we get to go back to the drawing board and build political parties, we will not get it right.
You used to have the NUP, the SDP in the 90s.
No, we have NP, NUP, and then we have political parties. But now we have political platforms.
Professor Ibrahim blamed the situation on what he described as poor administration, management, operation, and institutional control, insisting that no serious institution is currently addressing financial malpractice in Nigeria. On anti-corruption agencies, he expressed deep distrust in the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, accusing them of failing both operationally and administratively.
I can tell you for free that the money that has gone into corrupt hands over the years is over that amount of money. I think we should be counting on about, let me put it, about $1 trillion plus US dollars has gone into corrupt hands all over the years since 1990 today. And in addressing this issue, it is because we lack administration, management, operations, and control that has put us in the web where we are today.
Professor Ibrahim also criticized Nigeria's political leadership insisting that the country does not presently have true politicians, but rather political businessmen. He said many elected officials pursue politics primarily for personal and economic gains.
The Kano State Hospitals and Management Board has suspended 3 health workers following the death of a housewife after a surgical procedure at Abubakar Imam Urology Center. The board says the case had been referred to the State Medical Ethical Committee for investigation, stressing that negligence will not be tolerated in any form. Authorities have assured the public for stricter monitoring and enforcement of professional standards across state health facilities. The Federal Capital Territory Administration has announced plans to begin sealing properties and revoking land titles over unpaid ground rents, CFO's fees, and land use conversion charges from next week. The exercise will target properties illegally converted from residential to commercial use in high-profile areas of Wuse and Gariki, where owners have failed to meet payment obligation. Officials say the 2026 enforcement will be a broader than last year's operation and aimed at restoring compliance and planning and land administration laws. You're watching the live broadcast of Midday News, and Midday News continues after the weather forecast. United States.
Hello, we're glad to have you with us on the weather forecast for Thursday. Dust haze is still the prevailing weather condition, and we don't expect any significant improvement in visibilities, particularly across the northern states, as thick dust haze is expected in the region. To the north-central region of the country, moderate dust haze with horizontal visibilities ranging between 2 to 5 kilometers is expected. To the southern parts of the country, slight dust haze is expected, while patches of clouds are anticipated in parts of Bayelsa and Rivers State environs. Temperatures are significantly dropping, particularly in the northern states. With this temperature drop and dust haze still persisting, we strongly advise individuals with respiratory problems take necessary precaution, stay warm, and we encourage our airline operators to visit our eFlights folder portal for more weather updates. That's the forecast for Thursday. I am Theodora Itum. Thank you for watching.
Welcome back. Now let's go to business. The federal government has directed banks and fintech companies to begin collecting and remitting 7.5% VAT on selected electronic banking system charges from January 19, 2026. The tax will apply for transaction fees such as transfers, USSD charges, and card issuance, while interest on savings and deposit remains exempt. Officials say the move is aimed at standardizing value-added taxes collections across the country's digital financial platforms and boosting government revenue. The federal government has eliminated tariff on over 6,000 products imported from the United Arab Emirates, while the UAE has removed duties on more than 7,000 Nigerian goods, opening up new opportunities for trade, investment, and job creation. The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, made this known at the signing of the agreement at the ongoing Sustainability Week in Abu Dhabi. Business correspondent Kike Lomorokere brings the report.
The historic agreement under the Nigeria-UAE Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement aims to expand market access for Nigerian products, facilitate investment flows, and strengthen the country's non-oil export drive. The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, says under the pact, Nigeria will immediately remove tariffs on nearly 4,000 products, with the remaining 2,294 items phased out over 5 years. The UAE will eliminate tariff on 2,805 Nigerian products immediately, with others phased out within 3 to 5 years. She added that service and investment opportunities are also included, allowing Nigerian businesses and professionals to operate and establish entities in UAE.
Has been a long time coming. We've negotiated for about 11 months, very tough negotiation, but both sides are delighted that we have a good deal. This particular agreement will allow Nigerian businesses access into that regional hub of the Middle East, and it's a gateway to the rest of the world. It's an area where Nigerians are competitive in services. Nigerians will have up to 3 months to go into the UAE market in a 12-month period.
The minister further reveals that the agreement positions Nigeria as a gateway into ECOWAS and the African Continental Free Trade Area, while supporting the government's economic diversification and renewed hope agenda. She says relevant agencies have been mobilized to ensure smooth implementation to guide exporters on new market opportunities.
Cover, as they call it, an umbrella, has been long awaited by UAE businesses that want to move into Nigeria and into Africa. Nigeria is going to be used as a hub for businesses from this country to come into Africa to invest, to help us as we partner for our industrialization under the renewed hope agenda.
With tariff removed on over 13,000 products, the CEPA is set to boost non-oil export, attract foreign investment, and create jobs, marking a significant step in Nigeria's drive for economic growth and stronger ties with the UAE. Kelomo Ukeri, Global Television News.
The World Bank has retained Nigeria's economic growth forecast at 4.4% for 2027, signaling sustained optimism about the country's medium-term outlook despite lingering structural challenges. This is according to the World Bank Global Economic Prospects Report released in January of 2026. The report aligns with the projections earlier published in its Nigeria Development Update in October of 2025. The institution also upgraded Nigeria's 2026 growth estimate to 4.4%, up from 3.7% forecast contained in June 2025 Global Economic Prospects Report, reflecting improved macroeconomic conditions in Nigeria. On the foreign scene, voting has begun in Uganda's general election amid heavy security presence and internet shutdown and widespread concerns about violence and repression. President Yoweri Museveni is seeking to extend his decades-long ruling as polling stations open slowly across parts of the country, with security forces deployed in major cities. More than 21 million voters are registered, with unemployment and economic hardship dominating concerns among young voters. The United States has announced an indefinite pause on immigrant visa processing for 75 countries, including Nigeria and Ghana. The Trump administration says the move is part of efforts to reassess immigration procedures and curb abuse of public welfare systems. The suspension, effective January 21st, will not affect temporary tourist or business visas to the U.S. Sudan's Army Allied Finance Minister Jibril Ibrahim says widespread destruction, massive military spending, and plummeting oil and gold revenues have led Sudan's economy in very difficult times. His comment comes nearly 3 years into the army's war with rival paramilitary forces. Zara Nazi brings us reports.
This week, Sudan's Prime Minister announced the government's official return to Khartoum, recaptured last year, but the Finance Ministry is among those yet to fully return. Dressed in combat uniform, the former rebel leader said Sudan, already one of the world's poorest countries before the war, lost all sources of revenue in the beginning of the war, when the rapid support forces overtook the capital, Khartoum.
Definitely, our economy has gone through very difficult times. We lost all sources of our revenue in the beginning of the war, as a result of the fact that we used to collect revenue, 80% of it from the capital. Most of the industry, most of the big companies, and all the economic activity was concentrated in the center.
Ibrahim's ex-rebel group, the Justice and Equality Movement, once battled Khartoum's government, but it has fought on the army's side as part of the Joint Forces coalition of armed groups. Zahra Nasr, reporting for Global TV.
In sports, host Morocco have advanced to AFCON final after defeating Nigeria 4-2 on penalties, following a goalless draw after extra time. Goalkeeper Yassir Bono made 2 crucial saves during the shootout as Morocco booked a final clash with Senegal. The defeat ends Nigeria's title hopes in heartbreaking fashion, 2 years after losing the final to Ivory Coast. Meanwhile, the federal government has praised the Super Eagles for their performance and resilience at the African Cup of Nations despite their semi-final defeat. Information Minister Mohamed Idris says the team displayed unity, determination and national pride throughout the tournament. Also to another sport news, Arsenal secured a 3-2 away victory over Chelsea in the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final at Stamford Bridge. The Gunners took control early and maintained their advantage despite a spirited Chelsea fight back in the second half. The result gives Arsenal a narrow edge ahead of the return leg at the Emirates Stadium. That's it on Midday News. A quick reminder, Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using @GlobalTVNG. I am Ubong Usoro. Bye for now.